So today I'm joined with Carthage Buckley, stress and performance coach for entrepreneurs, executives, and ambitious professionals, and he focuses on coaching positive performance. So Carthage, could you tell us a bit more about positive performance?
The way I view positive performance is I like to work on the relationship between performance and stress.
Okay.
So there's a few key areas such as our behavior and our interpersonal relationships,
Mhm.
imagery, our cognitions, all those areas. Simply, if we manage them well,
Yeah.
we focus on managing properly, we're going into the high performance area. However,
Okay.
if things aren't going right and we're not managing them properly, we start moving down the line of stress.
Mhm.
So basically, we try and come in and teach people how to manage those areas effectively.
Okay. That sounds interesting because I know a lot of people like myself are often finding themselves in the stress mode.
It's getting more and more common. I mean, technology, for example, is supposed to be making our life a whole lot easier.
Right.
But the problem with technology is we're always reachable.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody wants to get us, they can easily get us. We try and take on more work because the technology is supposed to be making it easier, and we end up pushing ourselves harder than we ever did before.
Yes. That's true. So what can people do to kind of limit this?
I think the first step in anything really is awareness.
Okay.
So if you're starting to feel stressed, start taking notes on that. You know, when am I feeling stressed? What
Mhm.
was happening at the time? How often is this occurring?
Mhm.
Because the more information you have, the easier it is to start tackling that.
Okay. Okay. And I know that you specialize in managing change, usually with professionals and businesses. Is this something that small businesses should try and do as well?
From a stress perspective, or from
Well, for productivity and to reduce stress.
I think the greatest thing we can do, unfortunately, I suppose nowhere has been really exempt from the downturn in the economy in recent years. And unfortunately, one of the first things that tends to get cut is the investment in people.
Right.
And really, that is the area companies should be focusing on most. Because
Okay.
without the people, a company is nothing. So helping employees to manage themselves better, manage their productivity, be
Mhm.
aware of their own stress and their own health, that benefits everybody. You know,
Yes.
it's not just about benefiting the individual. If individuals are happier, healthier, and more productive, the company sees the returns on that.
Mhm. And is that really going straight to improving the bottom line?
Well, it is. I mean, that's what I suppose one of the difficult areas for coaching and training has always been proving return on investment.
Yeah.
Because if you want to say, well, we train our employees to be more productive, it's very hard to say that's given us X amount of return. You know, it's
Yeah.
hard to quantify it. So we probably need to move into return on expectations.
Okay.
You know, and what are we expecting to see for the investment we're putting into our training and putting into our people? And
Mhm.
are we achieving that level of expectation?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think that is true. But I think for the companies that I've worked in or and from people that I've spoken to, training is normally mentioned at first in the interview stage, and then afterwards it kind of dwindles off.
Yeah, it's it's a great selling point. You
Yeah,
know, it's
yeah.
oh, we really invest in our people, and there are various different accreditations. I won't specifically name any of them that companies wear as little badges on their websites. That you know we've got this certification and we've got that to show that we help our people. But really, practice is far more important. But I think if we could manage it on a relationship level,
Mhm.
where managers empower the employee to identify their own needs,
Yeah.
you know, to work on their own career plan and to come forward then proactively and say, I feel that if I get this training, I can take on this level of responsibility and I can progress further.
Mhm.
And if they work on the relationship basis like that, I think it's going to see far better returns.
Okay. Sounds good. And also, I know that you specialize in time management. Do you have a few top tips for us?
Well, time management and productivity, first of all, I think it's important to view the two of them because I, I like there's a lot of overlap, but I like to specify them as time management is understanding what you need to get done to achieve your objectives.
Okay.
And productivity is making sure that what you know needs to get done gets done.
Okay.
So understanding the two, but I suppose there's so many areas you could go into tips on it. But the number one thing, I think, the most important thing is to capture every commitment you make.
Which is really hard sometimes.
It is really hard because quite often, I mean, maybe it's easier for me at times because I'm a solopreneur, but if you're in a large organization, a lot of discussions take place walking up and down corridors or walking between desks or in the lift.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to say yes, and then you don't record that.
Right.
And suddenly a week later, John, who you made a commitment to, is giving you a call asking you why something's not getting done.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can set up a good system and have a good system in place to capture every commitment,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that you can just at a glance, you've got an opening to get something done. At a glance, you can look at the tasks you have to do and you can go, right, what is the most important task I can get done with the time and the resources available?
Okay. And then touching on technology again, do you have any favorites that you use with recording tasks or anything like that?
I actually use, because I move around quite a bit,
Yeah.
I just use something as simple as a Google spreadsheet.
Okay.
Now, the reason I use Google over Microsoft Excel
Mm-hmm.
is because on my phone I can access Google Drive.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And if I meet you out in the street and you say to me, "Can you do something?" If I agree to perform that task or agree to that commitment, I can immediately type it into my Google spreadsheet,
Yeah.
and that's recorded on the spreadsheet. If I later access it on my laptop,
Yeah.
it's already recorded there.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like it's in the cloud, which we love as well.
You record it once. One of the problems when a lot of people do actually write down every task they commit to.
Yes.
But they're writing it on scraps of paper and notepads, recording it in the reminder section, and they don't know where to turn to when they're checking what commitments have I actually made.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, I mean, when you're out, you might need to record a commitment, for example, on the reminder on your phone, or you might email it to yourself. But then you need to know where is that one place where you're keeping all your commitments,
Okay.
and transfer it to there.
Yeah. And for that, you use the Google spreadsheet, which is great.
I find Google Spreadsheet to be an excellent little tool to use, yeah.
Yeah. I like their other applications as well, like the calendar and the forms you can do as well.
Well, Google has an excellent little suite and it's free.
Yeah.
And I mean, I should point out actually, one of the things, if you have a lot of tasks, if you have maybe less than 20 tasks
Mm-hmm.
on your to-do list, one sheet does fine. But I like to be very specific about my tasks. I'm a great fan of David Allen.
Okay.
You know, and one of the things that he emphasized, which I really like, if you can be as specific as possible about your tasks, if you have a lot of them.
Right.
So I record tasks on different sheets marked at desk, at phone. So it's location specific.
Okay.
So if I'm out and about and I have my phone,
Yeah.
I know to look at the sheet with just phone related tasks, and there'll be names and numbers for people I can call, and a little information about what the call is regarding.
Okay. Yeah, that's excellent. That's really, really organized. And also, I think that leads to also managing finances. Do you have any tips that can relate to for small business owners to stay on top of their finances?
Again, I would say first and foremost is to be aware. Make sure, a lot of people are afraid to record everything they're doing with their money
Yes.
because they'll be frightened of what the end result will actually look like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so for the first step in anything, if you want to create any change or any improvement, very first step is awareness.
Okay.
So record everything that you're doing, every cent that's going out, every cent that's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
It soon becomes a habit, but no matter if it's good news or bad news at the end, at least you know where you stand.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're spending 100 quid more in a week than you have, at least you know where you are and you now know what you need to do to improve. You can start implementing change from there.
Yes, exactly. And then also, so touching on your brand, which is coaching positive performance, I was really, really interested in the word that you used. You chose to use the word positive. How significant is that to you?
I tried as a younger person. I was very, very, very negative.
Okay.
I'm someone who actually 1 in 4 people to say experience adolescent depression, and I would be a 1 in 4, and I found it a very negative period of my life. And when I was trying to work out where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do, I realized there's a lot of things you can do.
Yeah.
You know, you can perform in just about any area, but the positive to me is about making a positive contribution, both for yourself and serving your own purpose and your own values, but also making a difference, you know, to the people around you or to the world in general, anyone
Mhm.
you interact with.
Mhm.
So I really do. I really do. Positive is a word that just stuck with me when I was coming up with the name. You know, I was coaching performance just didn't sound right to me. And next thing, I don't know. It was almost like an epiphany. It appeared and it really felt right.
Right. Okay. So that's your one of your biggest commitments is to keep being positive.
I try to be, and the thing to remember is, even for us coaches, we don't always succeed at it ourselves. You know, there will be times like this week, for example, a lot of mayhem has hit me with I have an injury. I had a brother ill recently and I had to help out with him. So
Mhm.
I'm a little bit behind in my own productivity this week. But
Mhm.
because I have a system that I know and I trust, I'll be able to sit down and get back on track pretty quickly. You know, it's important to remember that we won't always get it right.
Okay.
You know, even the person coaching you or teaching you will not be 100% all, you know, they won't be getting it 100% all the time.
Mhm. Yeah. I see. And so you touched on your childhood or your when you were a teenager. Um, what really inspired you? What was your lightning moment to start up your own business?
I'm not sure there was a really just one moment.
Mhm.
I think there was a process and a journey there of finding myself. I really enjoyed. I've, I suppose when I first realised what I was going through with my tough times,
Mhm.
I think there was a certain feeling of shame at first, but then I realised actually there's nothing to be ashamed of here. I've had an experience. I'm working my way through it, and I found that as I went traveling and I found out I was willing to share with people, and many people were grateful that I was willing to share with them. And then a lot of people just were coming to me for advice on one thing or another. And you know, it kind of went from there. And I thought I really enjoyed this. If I could make a career out of it,
Mhm.
all the better. You know, and it just wasn't. A lot of people do talk about a moment, and for some people it is a moment, but for me it was more of a journey.
Okay. And so did your business evolve at the same pace as yourself?
I think the business itself, I started off, I suppose, I accidentally got into training and development. I did a course, a degree course in Dublin at
Mhm.
what is now the National College of Ireland. When
Okay.
I started there, it was the National College of Industrial Relations, but it was a BA in Human Resource Management. And
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, the reason I chose the course was it had the word human in the title.
Oh, right.
All I knew, I had no idea what human resources was at the time. I just knew I wanted to work with people.
Right. Okay.
I knew I didn't want to be getting caught up with numbers the whole time or process. I wanted to work with people, and
Mhm.
I went through the course, had a great time doing that, and then I applied for I can't remember what the original job I applied for with a bank was,
Mhm.
something similar, but I didn't get that. But about 2 months later, I got a phone call saying we've an opening in our training and development department. Would you be
Mhm.
interested in interviewing? So I interviewed. So again, I kind of accidentally got into training and development.
Yes.
And then I really enjoyed that. And I learned a lot from that experience. And I just moved on. I went traveling then in New Zealand. I went to New Zealand and I worked in training and development in New Zealand as well and learned a lot more there. And
Mhm.
as I was going along, I was encountering more coaches. And I had done a qualification in coaching, a training course about 10 or 15 years ago. And I brought that with me, and just little bits of experience here and there, and experiences. And
Mhm.
suddenly I found, right, when I came back to Ireland after in between I did a master's in psychology at the University of Bristol,
Oh, right. Okay.
and after that I thought, right, I'm going to give this a go. When I came back to Ireland, I thought I want to do this for myself. I'm going to give it a go, and I'm going to try and help as many as I can. And
Mhm.
it's really taken from there.
Yes.
For somebody who I suppose coaches organisation, it was very disorganised.
Right. Okay. But it's meant to be. Definitely, it's meant to be.
Well, that's what I feel.
Mhm.
That's definitely the way I feel about it.
Yes. And I know that you're very prominent on Twitter and Facebook. How did you get that interest or that large audience?
In Twitter, I'll tell you what the greatest tool I found with Twitter. Now, I,
Okay.
I realized I needed a website. Now, one of the reasons, by the way, that I'm so prominent online and I focus on online is I love traveling. So I like to be in a position where if this time next year I decide, right, I want to go live in Portugal,
Right.
I'm able to move to Portugal but maintain my business.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
And that is very important. Freedom is very important to me. It's one of my highest values. So maintaining a way where I can keep being free is very important to me. And I realized I want to do that. I want to build up a social network. And I needed to build a website. I had no idea, no experience. So researching on the internet, I learned to build that. And then somebody recommended it. I built it with WordPress. I don't know
Oh,
if
yeah.
if you use WordPress yourself, but I was recommended a plugin called Tweetily.
Okay.
And Tweetily is a plugin which you can put into your website and it'll take one of your blog posts and you can set how frequently. I have mine set to every hour. So every hour it will tweet a blog post
Oh, right. Okay.
with a little information. So I'm sending 24 tweets a day which are automated. And that then allows me to focus on interacting with people whenever I'm on Twitter.
Right.
So
Okay.
I don't have to be on Twitter that often.
Ah, okay.
So
Yeah.
you can go on for 10 minutes, you can interact with 3 or 4 people. You can come back to it later on.
Right.
So it's very, from an organization, a productivity point of view, when there's only one of you, you do have to try and find these little ways to get as much done as possible
Yeah.
without you having to do it.
Definitely. Yeah.
And then for managing, I use a tool called Tweepy, TWEEPI,
Okay.
for managing my followers, and I can add followers who I feel I'd be interested in, and they might be interested in me.
Ah, that sounds like a good tip. We should probably write that one down. Tweepy.
Tweepy is very good, and Tweetily is just TWEETILY. For anybody who has WordPress, I would really recommend it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with us. And so, just to find out a bit more about yourself again, what do you have planned for the year ahead?
In the coming month, I'm launching my first online course,
Ah, okay. Excellent.
which will also see me starting webinars. I will have my first book out this year.
Ah, okay. What's the title of it, if we can know?
I I actually have not decided on the title yet, so
Oh, okay.
it's not that I'm keeping that from you. I'm not,
Okay.
but I haven't actually picked on the title yet. I'm at the moment I'm just doing some brainstorming on that, and I'll narrow it down around the middle of the year. I expect to be releasing that.
Okay. That sounds great.
Well, that's the plan. So I've put it out there now. I have to do it.
Yeah, yeah. Do you sometimes experience resistance, in the words of Stephen Pressfield?
Oh, definitely.
Mm.
Absolutely. There's mornings I get up, and the last thing I want to do is turn on a computer. But what I do then is I turn on the computer, I log in, I say, right, once I've done that, I can go get a coffee.
Okay, yeah.
So I break it down to the smallest thing I can do. So I go,
Yeah.
right, I'll turn the computer on, I'll go get the coffee. Once I get the coffee and come back, it's loaded up. So then I pick a small task, start with that, and then once I've that done, that's a task that maybe will take 1 or 2 minutes really. And then I'll pick my biggest task of the day. Once I've got that little bit of momentum going, and I'll fly into that. And
Oh,
then,
okay.
so then if I had resistance for the rest of the day after completing that most important task, I've still had an effective day.
So you've completed one of your main objectives.
Yes, what you have a main objective there that you want to get done for the day. You sit down, get cracking on that, and once that's done, I don't even open my email before doing that.
Okay.
Which is another thing. Just advice: if you can avoid opening your email first thing in the morning, it's not possible for everybody. But if you can avoid doing it, it limits the amount of distraction and resistance that you experience.
Yeah. I can definitely imagine that's true.
And then once I usually find out that done, so I get my first task done, then you can open your email at 10 o'clock. And really, if you haven't replied from the time you got up till 10 o'clock, nobody's going to notice.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Thank you for that as well, that second tip. So I know that our time together is coming up to the end, unfortunately, but it's been wonderful to speak to you. And just before we go, I'd like to just end on one final question, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And that just simply is, what is the best travel destination that you've been to?
Ooh, now that
Is
is
that a tough, a tough question?
that is a tough one because I've been to quite a few places.
Okay.
I like to base on living places. I would probably give it every time you ask me that. I would probably give you a different answer. But on this occasion,
Okay.
I'm going to say Wellington, New Zealand.
Ah, okay.
I spent the best part of a year there, and it's absolutely beautiful. Every morning when I was working, I lived near the harbour, and to
Mm,
get to work, I had to walk across the harbour, and
okay.
it's a feeling that I would never go back to New Zealand to live because it's too far from home for me, for my
Right.
liking. But it is a fantastic country. But it is the one thing I would really miss about it is just walking across the harbour in the morning.
Yeah. Oh, that must be wonderful. I think definitely that would be something to look forward to in the future for myself.
Well, I recommend it. And by the way, if you do, just if anyone's going to New Zealand, I totally recommend taking the ferry between the two islands.
Okay.
You will see countryside well, see scenery, I should say, that I would believe no man has ever set foot on, and it's just absolutely stunning.
Wow. Well, thank you for coming on today. And I can't wait to hear about your book coming out in a few months' time. And we'll provide the links to your website and your free gift in the emails.
Absolutely. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much.